So we're picking up where we left off. This is part 3 to my original Genius Advanced Astrology Anthology, Unkindness from the Fish's Mouth. In this video, we're going to go over chapter 8, where we talk about the part of fortune in the second house, also known as the Gilded Trap. We'll be going over chapter 9, the Midheaven Mask, treatise on the professional persona as exquisite armor, and chapter 10, the Ascendant Disappointment Axis on the machinery of arrival. So, without further ado, here's chapter 8, the part of fortune in the second house, the Gilded Trap, by the Piscean Syndicate. Epigraph. The part of fortune is not where you find joy, it is where you find the exact currency your particular misery accepts as payment. In the second house, it means that currency and relentless, soul-corroding abundance. From the Syndicate's Audit of Celestial Accounts. We have dealt with planets, houses, nodes, and stars. Now we must address the lot, or part. These are sensitive points derived from the harrowing arithmetic of the natal chart. The sum of distances, a formula that yields a ghost with a job. The most notorious is the part of fortune, a point allegedly signifying ease, prosperity, and where one's luck may be found. A charming fairy tale. In our professional experience, the part of fortune signifies the universe's most efficient sedative. It's the path of least resistance, so well paved it becomes a polished chute directly into a gilded cell. Place this part in the second house, the domain of money, resources, values, and self-worth, and you have a particularly vicious joke. The native is not just lucky with resources, they are defined by them. Their sense of fortune, of felicity, is inextricably braided with the tangible, the measurable, the bankable. Their luck is a leash made of gold, and it is just long enough to let them pace the perimeter of their beautiful, empty room. Enter Dorian Finch, no relation to the Jupiterian disaster in Chapter 3, though the universe does enjoy its synchronicities. Dorian's part of fortune sat at 15 degrees Taurus in his second house, conjunct his Venus, a configuration suggesting not just material comfort, but a deep sensual, aesthetic resonance with it. From birth, the universe handed him a simple, devastating equation. Value equals objects, security equals accumulation, fortune equals weight. He became an actuary, not out of passion, but because it was the most elegant, least resistive application of his Taurian fortune. He assessed risk for a venerable insurance firm, housed in a mid-century skyscraper with excellent soundproofing and views of a tranquil river. His job was to quantify the financial impact of catastrophe, to monetize tragedy with flawless, dispassionate logic. He was spectacularly good at it. His part of fortune hummed along, a silent engine of prudent gain. He lived in a loft converted from an old piano factory, all exposed brick and reclaimed timber, filled not with clutter but with investments, a single perfect Eames chair, a set of pre-war studio photography, a Japanese Tanzu chess that appreciated in value yearly. Dorian did not love these things, he curated them. His affection was a function of provenance and projected ROI. His friendships were similar, long-standing, stable, based on mutual professional respect, and a shared appreciation for single malt scotch and silence. He was, by every measurable second-house standard, fortunate. He was also, in a quiet, constant way, dying of thirst. The dark humor of the part of fortune is its passive aggression. It doesn't deny you, it provides, fulfills the letter of the celestial law while avoiding its spirit. Dorian's life was not unhappy. Unhappiness would have been a signal, a catalyst. His life was smooth. His suffering was the suffering of perfect equilibrium, a low-grade existential nausea born of never wanting, never lacking, and therefore never truly moving. The crisis, when it came, was not a loss. It was an eruption of the absurd. A great uncle he'd met twice died, bequeathing him not money, but a thing, a colossal, hideous, undoubtedly authentic Victorian portrait of a weeping clown, titled Pierrot's Lament. It was 7 feet tall. The frame alone was a riot of gilded, grape-clutching cherubs. The clown's single tear was rendered in a thick, yellowish resin that caught the light like a diseased cataract. It was appalling. It was worthless. No reputable collector would touch it. It was the antithesis of every value his part of fortune had instilled in him. It was, in a word, noise in his perfectly modulated world. His instinct was to sell it, donate it, burn it, but a clause in the will stipulated he must keep and maintain it for 1 year, or the entire estate, a minor sum, would go to a rival cousin, a petty, ridiculous constraint, a friction. He installed it in his loft, in the only space that could accommodate it, the central wall, facing his perfect Eames chair. It dominated the room. It clashed with everything. The clown's mournful gaze followed him. The ghastly frame glinted mockingly in the afternoon sun. It was an act of aesthetic violence. And a slow, strange alchemy began. The clown, this vulgar, sentimental, financially irrelevant object, became the only thing in his home he felt anything about. He hated it. He resented it. He began over weeks to develop a perverse fascination with its awfulness. He researched the obscure painter. He learned about the tragic clown movement of the 1880s. He found himself staring at it, not with the curator's eye, but with a kind of bewildered immersion. Its very worthlessness made it free. It didn't need to be insured, admired, or leveraged. It just was. A colossal, tearful joke. His part of fortune. His engine of terrain value sputtered in the face of this monument to valuelessness. The other objects in his loft began to look anxious. The Eames chair seemed sterile, the photography cold. They were assets. The clown was an experience. A bad one, but an experience nonetheless. He began to make small, reckless decisions. He bought a neon oreg armchair from a roadside stall, precisely because it was ugly and uncomfortable. He left his actuarial report unfinished to wander through a flea market, returning with a chip mug that said, "World's okayest grandpa." He started feeding ducks by the river, a pointless, messy activity with no quantifiable benefit. The clown had, in essence, bankrupted his values by introducing a currency his second house could not recognize, the currency of sheer, unmitigated effect. It collapsed the internal economy that had defined his fortune. He did not quit his job. He did not sell his loft. The part of fortune in the second house is too strong for such clean ruptures. The gilded cage is too well made. But he changed the furniture inside it. On the final day of the 1-year stipulation, Dorian did not call an auction house. He called a restorer. He paid a staggering sum to have the clown's grotesque frame repaired and the yellow tear delicately cleaned. He hung it again in the same central spot. His friends over their single malt are politely aghast. "It's a travesty, Dorian," they say. "What's the play?" He sips his scotch, looks at the weeping, ridiculous face, and feels a flicker of something that is not ease, not prosperity, not fortune. It is the faint, ironic spark of life. "No play," he says. "It's a contingency." The part of fortune in the second house teaches us true poverty is not a lack of resources, but a surplus of the wrong currency. Fortune is the ability to buy everything that fits your world until your world becomes a catalog. Sometimes salvation is a vulgar weeping clown, a lost leader from the cosmos, designated to bankrupt your old values so a stranger, more awkward wealth might begin quietly to accumulate in the ruins. The second house is the vault. The part of fortune within it ensures the lock is impeccable, the inventory perfect, and the air inside slowly, irrevocably running out. The most fortunate are often the last to notice they are buried alive in gold. Chapter 9. The Midheaven Mask, a treatise on the professional persona, has exquisite armor. Epigraph. The midheaven is not a calling. It is a costume so well fitted you forget you are wearing it until you try to breathe. The tragedy is not that it's false, but that it functions perfectly from the syndicate's catalog of public faces. We turn now from the inner houses of self and substance to the highest, most visible point, the midheaven, or MC, the cusp of the 10th house. This is the pinnacle of the chart, the point of reputation, legacy, and the face we present to the world's gallery. It is not who we are, it is who we are meant to be seen as. When powerfully configured, it becomes a mask of such articulate craftsmanship that the face beneath forgets its own geography. Our subject is Dr. Arise Thorne. Her midheaven is in Leo, conjunct Rahu, the north node of the moon, that gawky destiny we previously discussed, trine a Jupiter-Mars conjunction in Sagittarius in her second house. The cosmic message is deafeningly clear. Your destiny is to be seen luminously as an authority. Your values, second house, is inextricably linked to your expansive, fiery public expression. Success is not just likely, it is the only logical outcome. The universe has handed her a script for a starring role. She obeyed. Arise became a public intellectual. Not a dusty academic, but a brand, a specialist in the sociology of technology. She was the person news channels called when a social media platform imploded or a new app changed everything. Her hair was a signature silver bob, sharp as a theorem. She wore architectural glasses and statement necklaces that looked like polished data models. Her TED Talk, The Architecture of Attention, had millions of views. Her catchphrase, "Let's unpack the algorithm of that," entered the lexicon. She was not just successful, she was legible, a perfect humanoid expression of her midheaven. The mask was a marvel. It spoke in complete, publishable paragraphs. It never stumbled, converted complex ideas into gleaming, digestible artifacts. It knew its angles. It was, in every sense, a professional-grade exoskeleton. The dark comedy of a dominant midheaven is this. The persona is not a lie. It is a hyper-efficient truth. It takes a genuine talent and streamlines it into a product. The problem is one of captivity. Aris didn't use her public persona, she inhabited it. The woman who craved silence, who secretly read 18th century gardening manuals, who felt a pang of nausea before every live shot, was buried beneath the smooth, polished carapace of Dr. Thorne. The crisis began with something small, a hiccup on a popular podcast during a discussion on digital loneliness. The host asked a soft, unscripted question. What's a technology you personally secretly love? Not for its utility, just for its joy. The mask programmed for insight, not intimacy, faltered. The perfectly tuned engine of her speech sputtered. She heard herself say, "Well, the haptic feedback on my tablet stylus provides a satisfying simulacrum of friction." She trailed off. The silence that followed was not the silence of a thinking expert. It was the silence of a hollow statue. She had no answer. Every piece of tech in her life was a tool for research, for communication, for maintaining the mask. Joy was not a variable in her analysis. The incident was minor. No one noticed, but for Aris, it was a seismic event. A tiny crack in the exoskeleton. She became aware of the pressure of the mask, its weight on her sinuses, its constant low-grade demand for performance. Then came the ghosting, not by a person but by a platform. A new hyper-exclusive audio forum called The Cloister, launched invitation only. It was the antithesis of her public brand. Text only, slow, focused on long-form, anonymous dialogue. Her midheaven, her brand, demanded she be invited. She was an authority. She belonged everywhere. Her application was rejected automatically. A formulaic email. "Thank you for your interest. The Cloister is not currently seeking verified authorities." It was a slap from the void. Her Jupiter-Mars trine meant nothing here. Her Leo midheaven's light illuminated nothing. For the first time in her adult life, her persona had no purchase. She was invisible. It was terrifying. It was also, in a deep, secret chamber of her soul, a relief. Obsession, as it does for her archetype, became research. She created a profile. She invented a persona, a retired landscape architect named Arthur, with a gentle, meandering writing style. Arthur was accepted into the Cloister instantly. There, he did not unpack algorithms. He discussed the melancholy of overpruned rose bushes. He shared poems about moss, got into a tender, weeks-long debate about the best material for a garden bench. Wood rots, stone is cold, iron is pretentious. It was trivial. It was glorious. It was the anti-midheaven. It was the fourth house, private life, roots, claiming its territory from the 10th. The ultimate joke, of course, was that she was now wearing a mask beneath her mask. But the Arthur mask was porous. It breathed. It was made of curiosity, not conviction. It allowed the damp, unformed things underneath, Aris's own buried love of quiet, growing, non-utilitarian things, to seep through. So the climax was inevitable. A collision of personas. A media outlet doing a piece on the new analog resistance discovered Arthur was a revered figure in the Cloister. They wanted to profile the mysterious sage. They tracked the IP address. It led to Dr. Aris Dorn's pristine home office. The reporter, giddy with the reveal, confronted her live on a video call. "Dr. Thorne, the internet is stunned. The lofty analyst of our digital lives is a secret poet of garden benches. How does this square with your public work?" Aris looked at the reporter's pixelated, eager face. She felt the immense familiar weight of her Leo midheaven mask, ready to formulate a brilliant synthesis. It's about the tension between the crafted and the organic, a necessary dialectic. But the words didn't come. The crack had widened. She saw with utter clarity the trap of her own success. To explain Arthur would be to consume him, to process him into content for the very machine he existed to escape. It would be the final perfect victory of the midheaven. She smiled, a small, unprofessional smile. "It doesn't square," she said, her voice quieter than usual. "Arthur doesn't do geometry. You'll have to ask him." And she ended the call. She has not returned to the cloister as Arthur. The sanctuary was violated, but the crack remained. She still gives her talks. She still wears the statement necklaces, but sometimes now, in the middle of explaining the hegemony of a platform, she will use an analogy about rhizomatic root systems. The audiences are slightly confused but intrigued. The mask is still on, but it's no longer airtight. A little soul leaks out around the edges. A little absurdity leaks in. The midheaven is a crown, but a crown is also a circle, and a circle is a wall. Reese spent a lifetime building a flawless castle on the hill of her reputation. The universe, in its infinite wit, showed her salvation not by storming the gates, but by revealing a small forgotten door in the basement, leading not out, but down into the rich, dark, unimportant earth. The midheaven is the summit you spent your life climbing. The punchline is the view. It only shows you how far you are from everything you left behind in the valleys of yourself. The most successful are those who learn to build a small, secret garden on that windswept peak. Thank you for watching this. And I'll actually make chapter 10 its own video so we can get into some more stories.